What's up, everyone? Welcome to our podcast channel. On today's episode, we're talking about David Dobrik's new company, David's Perfume, and what it means for the creator landscape. We also dive into what it means for creators to own a job versus owning a business. All right. Hope you enjoy this episode of the Colin and Samir podcast.
And if you're wondering if I'm here during the intro, I am.
Now you know. So I got to say, I didn't see this coming.
David's Perfume.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming either.
But I understand, like, the direction he's going is very cool to me. Like, I actually think it's very interesting.
He's launching everything and anything.
But it's still like within his demo and like within this.
Of course.
Yeah. But it's just so interesting. And earlier this year, we made a video when he stopped uploading to YouTube. Because I think to give a frame of reference, David Dobrik stopped uploading to YouTube in March, right when quarantine happened. He uploaded one video since then.
And he said during that time, I'm not going to upload until this is all over. Who knows when this is going to be all over? And now he's just uploading to TikTok and he's still thriving.
The thing is, at that time when he stopped uploading to YouTube, I was really curious what was going to happen. Like, this is one of the biggest creators on the platform. We're talking about 10 to 12 million views an episode, occasionally 20 plus million views. He's integrating with all these celebrities. It's like, this was, in my eyes, his core driver of audience was his YouTube channel and the reason why he was so relevant all the time.
It felt like the best show in Hollywood too, where it was like, okay, now we have Kylie Jenner on. Now we have Justin Bieber on. Like, it was such a hit show. It felt like his version of Carpool Karaoke or something. Like, you never knew who was going to be the next big guest, what he was going to give away.
And there's this big test with influencers, I think, and with creators, that when their primary show is gone or changes, can they still retain relevancy? And you're talking about the absence of like 20 million views a week on a new video. And probably, I would assume he was doing like 100 million across the channel in like a week's time.
And just his main touch point to his rabid audience.
So the answer to that question is he was able to not only retain his relevancy, but increase it exponentially, in my opinion, since he stopped uploading to YouTube. He's been trending for like these big moments of like giving away Teslas. I mean, this week he was trending for giving away Teslas and registering
300,000 people to vote. So he did a giveaway on Instagram with head count, gave away 5 Teslas, and in turn, he registered 300,000 people to vote. That's crazy.
It's crazy. And like, first and foremost, it just goes to show you that he's now I think he's gone into the sphere of just like celebrity, where
he's post-platform.
Post-platform. That's a great term. And I think that used to only be reserved for actors, meaning like Ryan Gosling is still Ryan Gosling if he doesn't release movies. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And David Dobrik now is David Dobrik, whether or not he's releasing stuff. Of course, he's all over Instagram and TikTok, but without his like main show, I think he just proved to the world that he's still the biggest.
Yeah, I think he's also proved that you can do less as long as what you do put out is better.
Yes.
You can disappear for a month, but you better come back by giving away 5 Teslas.
But his version of disappearing is like, he's still super relevant.
Of course,
you know?
He's still on TikTok, of course.
So yeah, and the reason why this is also interesting is it comes at a time where David's app, which is now called Dispo, started as an app called David's Disposable, which is based on his interest in shooting disposable cameras. His app is a photography app where you take a picture and you can't see the pictures until 9 a.m. the next morning. Very cool concept.
Sort of simulates what it would be like to actually have a disposable camera.
Very cool concept. You can also get them printed.
But they're going to be rolling out sort of a 2.0 version that's more of an Instagram style feed, more of a true social media platform where also the photos are ephemeral.
So that's super cool. So they've shifted from being an app called David's Disposable to an app called Dispo. Which is
hip,
which is cool, hip, and they're hiring. And that news came in the last week. Now, additionally, the news that came this week that is now live today is David's Perfume, which is a perfume line by David Dobrik. It's such a, it's the thing that I love about it is the slogan is called elegant yet unexpected. And that is actually how I feel about it. Like, this was completely unexpected for me that David Dobrik launches a perfume line. But it's a very like elegant thing to do.
It's also a premium way to wrap up David Dobrik's brand in general.
Yeah.
Elegant, but unexpected. Like, everything he does, even within his vlogs, was very unexpected.
Yeah.
It's like a very much like shock and awe. And yet he still fits in this very elegant pocket of Hollywood. Like, he's accepted by traditional media. He's not a Bryce Hall or a Jake Paul
at all. Not even, yeah, not at all, which is amazing.
It's he's hanging out with the Jenners. He's boys with Fallon.
And no matter what, yeah, exactly. No matter what, he's able to get, he has a show on Discovery right now, and he has a show on Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon is squeaky clean.
And David Dobrik is not squeaky clean.
He's not squeaky clean, but he's loved by Hollywood.
Like, gets a pass. Yeah.
So you really start to see, of course, like as kind of hyped we can get about David and everything David's doing and how exciting it is. The reason it's so exciting is because it paves the path for creators and what creator businesses look like. And it really sheds light on the fact that stuff that we were talking about earlier this year around Chamberlain Coffee, which is Emma Chamberlain's coffee company, stuff that's come around between, some other creators we've talked to, like Amanda Raish Lee is another creator that we recently interviewed, who has her own journal company. Like, we have moved well beyond the concept of merch. Merch is still a part of the conversation, but I think everyone has started to realize, like, these are actually like bespoke companies. These are entities. Like, David's Disposable, now Dispo, has a team around it, and it is now named something that is beyond David Dobrik, that can scale beyond him.
Yeah, this is an opportunity for them to create generational wealth for themselves. Companies that stand alone, that can be sold off, that can employ tons of people. And it's a really interesting dynamic, but it's such a far stretch from what being a creator or an influencer used to be, which is, I basically work for my audience. I work for the brands that want to integrate with my audience. I create content for them, to now, like, no, I build businesses that I own.
Well, I think as creators, what you start to realize is that you are a bridge, right? So your content serves as a bridge. So to start, it's like, I have this bridge that I've built to an audience that SeatGeek wants to get in touch with. My content is the bridge that they can use to quickly get to that audience. But over time, when that bridge gets really strong and really developed, you're like, wait a second. So I own the bridge. So what if I just owned what's on the other side of it as well? And it's not SeatGeek, right? And of course, that's a big part of it. Like, advertising is going to be a part of influencer marketing forever. But the opportunities now, especially in the COVID era, is like, well, let's just redefine what it means. Like, let's just make a company. Let's make a perfume company rather than working with Le Labo, or I actually don't know any other perfume company, but let's just make our own.
Well, it's interesting. It really shows how important that bridge is nowadays. Like, you may have the best perfume in the world, but if you don't have the bridge to the audience, what does it matter? Right? And it's so interesting now that just like strategic partners who have the expertise in making coffee or making perfume or making an energy drink are now just like, oh, well, why would I go through all of that pain of trying to build my own audience around this brand?
Right.
When this person already has that bridge. Let's just partner up.
Now, you do need a certain type of scale to build a company that, and a product line.
100%.
But I think now that's becoming investable. That's interesting to invest in. Like, David's Perfume, I'd put money behind that. Of course. That's going to work. It's a good idea.
Totally.
And like the content that I've seen around it so far, he did like a 10 things I can't live without with GQ, which was super smart PR this week to do that.
Can't live without his perfume.
I mean, think about how smart this PR is. David Dobrik trends because he gives away 5 Teslas to register 300,000 people to vote.
That was yesterday.
That was 2 days ago.
2 days ago, technically.
Yesterday, he releases 10 things I can't live without, which at the end of it is David's Perfume. He launches this David's Perfume campaign. And then today, when you're listening to it,
and it's
live. You can buy it now.
And they have a billboard above Saddle Ranch in Hollywood, which is a super popular nighttime club and restaurant in Hollywood where all of the most famous young like TikTok and YouTube stars are going. And what's interesting is he sort of made Saddle Ranch popular.
Totally. Yeah.
Like I
grew up in LA. Saddle Ranch was not a thing. Like Saddle Ranch was like kind of a gimmicky place in Hollywood that had a mechanical bull that was like funny to go to. And we would do it because it was like funny.
Yeah.
But now it's like really cool.
And he would go in his vlogs. He made that spot what it is. Now all of the most influential young creators go there and he just puts a billboard right up top.
It's just kind of like, I'm the guy.
It's like welcome to my house,
welcome
everyone.
to David's world.
Welcome to my world. Like, please buy my perfume. Post photos on my app.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, I actually am like trailblazing for all of you guys. Cause now, like you mentioned Bryce Hall, love the guy or hate the guy. He's also, I think, made a pretty smart move. He released a new podcast where what's it called? Capital University. Capital University. Okay, title. Yeah.
You heard it here first. Bryce.
So they talk about like his business.
Of all the digs that Bryce Hall has had, that had to be the most mild of all time. Bryce Hall launched a new podcast. It's called Capital University.
I just thought it wasn't that, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, wow. Should we tweet that directly at Bryce?
It's not even like a pun. Is it a pun? Am I missing something? Like, I get it. It's like, I think it was called Capital U. It might be more interesting because then if there's a pun, it's like Capital University plus like you know,
you're the business.
Yeah, you are the business.
You're right. Maybe they should rebrand.
That's what I'm saying. Like, consult us, guys. Bryce, we're here in LA. I'll come to Saddle Ranch.
Well, anyway, so on the podcast,
he talks about how, you know, influencers, a lot of times, especially if they're in that kind of like celebrity, Kylie Jenner look, I don't know, you know, there's like a certain flavor of influencer that gets a Bang Energy deal. And it's kind of become like a meme to have like a Bang Energy deal. But he was talking about, he's like, all my friends were doing Bang Energy deals. And I was like, if this type of content works so well to sell an energy drink, why don't I just make an energy drink? Like, why am I building Bang Energy? And that is the way of the future now. So he did it. So him and the Sway Boys launched their own energy drink. Who knows if it's good or not? But conceptually, that is, I think, a road that has been paved by merchandise and by brands like David Dobrik's Clickbait, Logan Paul's Maverick, Yes Theory, Seek Discomfort. And now it's just expanding into categories that I don't think people fully understood, but categories with massive scale. Like an energy drink has crazy scale. If you put gasoline on an idea like an energy drink, where it's just like, as a startup energy drink company, you know how hard it is to get into grocery stores? But as a influencer-backed energy drink, liquor stores might be more interested. Distribution is more interested because it's like, oh, I can walk in the door and actually buy this thing. That's cool.
And again, like his audience is young, and capturing that audience at that age is super important because they can become a lifetime buyer.
So now you have creators who are able to compete with top tier companies.
I was thinking about that. I wonder, a company like Red Bull, are some of these young energy drink companies on their radar? I would imagine.
I don't know.
Someone at those companies is like, of course, Red Bull has unbelievable scale.
Yeah.
But looking at it and thinking like, all right, well, what are these young companies doing? And like, granted, they're different consumers, they're different audiences.
Yeah.
But still, like, Red Bull is interested in the next generation of energy drinkers.
I think the perfume space is more at risk because like it's a space for young kids who, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, all of you in the comments. If you are currently wearing perfume, let me know. But I feel like people in the demographic of people who are listening to this, in our demographic, it's not as common as maybe it was in our parents' generation to have like perfume. Again, could be wrong. But there's like young, hip perfume companies that have emerged now, which I think are starting to bring back this concept of like scents and essential oils and like integrate those into lifestyle. But then David Dobrik comes around and he makes it cool. And it's David's perfume. Now it's cooler to have that. And so like any work that these companies did to make it a thing to wear perfume, David saw an opening and is like, let's go. It's super smart to go in that direction rather than going in the direction of like head to head with a Red Bull for shelf space.
Yeah. And also I guess the market for David's perfume, it's almost forging a new market. for Perfume. It's not necessarily competing. It's doing a better job at capturing a market that other perfume companies probably just are not going to capture.
Yeah, maybe. I think that there is that like West Hollywood market that might be kind of interested, especially if it's like, I was listening to him talk about the scents. It's like sandalwood. It's like it's just a traditional scent that is out there.
I'm generally a sandalwood guy for candles.
Right.
I've never thought about putting it on my body.
Well, David's Perfume. Now you could.
Now I can.
Also, he hasn't clarified. Is this unisex perfume? Or
I would imagine it is.
It's got to be, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like scents by David.
It's just, these are smells that I sign off on.
Yeah. The slogan also could have been like, makes sense. But that was probably too much of a layup.
Makes sense.
No, never mind. All right. So I do think it's interesting to explore these new avenues. One of those new avenues is the restaurant business.
This avenue is fascinating. What we saw recently with Father Foods.
Yeah. So you want to explain what Father Foods is? And again, this is all within this context of creators starting like using this year and the kind of shakeup of businesses this year. That has opened up a void and a gap for creators who have had a really good year. I think top tier creators had a really good year this year. Advertising, I mean, even you look at us, it's like, we didn't, like advertising was good. So I'd imagine that top tier creators, business was pretty good. Advertising, e-commerce, all these businesses are good. So creators are more stable than some of the other businesses, especially in sectors like food, like restaurants, who are experiencing all this change and all this kind of like craziness. Creators are like the people who have the distribution, they have the audience, they have the customer base, and they have the capital. So let's explain Father Foods now.
So Father Foods is a new restaurant, basically like the new version of a restaurant, which is primarily like DoorDash, Uber Eats based, by an Instagram influencer model that goes by the name Father Kells. His name's Kelsey. Mm-hmm. And I guess she posts a lot of food content and now has rolled out her own restaurant called Father Foods that is, you can order it on like Uber Eats, DoorDash, all of these types of services. So she's basically just partnering with like ghost kitchens, like restaurants that are no longer producing whatever they used to be producing before COVID and now helping her produce food. So they're pairing her audience with now these restaurants that need business.
It's super smart. If I'm in the restaurant business right now and I'm a sandwich shop and I'm looking for, something, and I have good output capability and Uber Eats exists, I'm definitely looking for an influencer to partner with.
Totally.
It's not even a question. I'm like, someone bring me audience and make it hip and cool to eat this sandwich. David's, sandwich. Great. Okay, let's do it.
It's just so interesting to me that an Instagram model influencer can become a restaurateur in the 2020 sense of the word like that.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, the thing is like the internet infrastructure was laid for this year to happen for creators where like once the old world infrastructure gets shaky, the internet infrastructure was the foundation was laid. Like if Uber Eats didn't exist, it gets increasingly challenging to do this. But because Uber Eats exists and delivery is the primary way people are receiving food, now it's like the brand of the restaurant. You could operate 3 restaurants out of one kitchen.
Totally. Build the brand of Father Foods right now.
But it could still operate out of the same kitchen as the original place.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So like this concept of ghost kitchens is huge. It's a huge opportunity because...
Yeah, it's like basically like you can either show up to Mike's Deli and order it to go.
Right.
Or potentially they're making in the back of Mike's Deli
right.
all of the food that you're also ordering on the Father Foods section of Uber Eats.
Right. And that comes at a premium. It's way cooler. You want to post about it. It has scale. It's like, it all makes sense. But I think, again, like it feels crazy that creators can become like digital restaurateurs, controlling and like dominating in a space that traditionally would be a little bit challenging to dominate into. And like, it would be too high risk to like open a restaurant for a creator. It doesn't make any sense. Open like a brick and mortar restaurant? No. But having the opportunity to have like a ghost kitchen makes it all make sense.
And let alone she can start to build the brand and the audience for Father Foods, and maybe in 3 years, if you want, open up a brick and mortar, partner with someone, open up your first one, and then franchise it.
And I think that's
if
probably,
that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's probably actually something that Emma could do with Chamberlain Coffee, where like you partner with a local coffee shop in LA, and for like, you know, a month or two, you can like order her specialty coffee, but it's just listed as Chamberlain Coffee on Uber Eats, and you click a button and like it shows up in like a cool branded mug or a branded cup, and it's like her specialty drink, you know? So it's like she could test the model of as having like a ghost coffee shop. And so now I think like creators are they're in the driver's seat with a lot of this stuff, because if you control the audience, that's what matters now.
It's just amazing to me how many different types of industries have to now do with the creator business and with gathering audience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, audience has always been part of the equation, whether you had a brick and mortar restaurant and you wanted people to come in the door or not. But now it's just that so much of the traffic is digital, and creators are the people who direct this traffic.
And I think, you know, creator business has gone in waves. When we first started, advertising was very young, and it was a completely different sort, like the form of advertising was completely different in 2011 and 2012. It was like very customized, meaning like you worked with a brand to figure out how to make a custom video. The best examples of this is Casey Neistat did a lot of this stuff at an early stage with, you know, Nike and Mercedes-Benz and with J. Crew.
Yeah, and we did it.
And we did it
during that time with like Nike and New Balance, Under Armour. Yeah.
So it was very customized. It was like a concept. It was more similar to like television commercials that were longer form, because it was all wrapped up in like the brand concept. And over time, then it turned into, you know, almost similar to radio or podcast reads, where like a brand will give you talking points.
We just need you to talk about this for 60 seconds.
In the middle of my concept, I will read about, you know, this brand and give you a promo code, and then I'll move on to the rest of my video. There's some integrated stuff, but that's kind of the way of creators. And that brought a scale to the advertising that allowed creators to create careers, because that scale, like the custom content process is very lengthy. It's like revisions and all this stuff. The read process isn't. It's like, as long as you hit these points, you're good. So I could do that over and over and over and over and over and over, and all of a sudden have a foundation to build more business on. And now because of that foundation of advertising, creators can move into this new sector and this new world. I think, you know, back to the start of this conversation, the most interesting to me is that when I look at David Dobrik, it is the future of creators, because he's in the 1% or under 1% of creators who are that integrated into culture that they can stop posting on their main channel and still be this relevant.
Mm-hmm.
But that is something that I think more people will try and get to. And what people are trying to get to by creating content now is to get to that level of,
I can take a step back.
Yeah, of brand, where you could take a step back and just release things because your brand stands for something. Same way you and I were talking about, Casey Neistat out of seemingly nowhere started vlogging again. And there's still 1 million people every day, at least, who are interested in what he's doing.
Yeah, Casey's return to vlogging has been fascinating to me, because he's not necessarily following the thumbnail and title conventions or the episode formats that are currently doing well on YouTube, that follow that Jenga storytelling format where you have to watch all the way until the end. But he still is doing 1 million views a video, which means there are 1 million people who are just interested in whatever he's going to do. And I think Dobrik has some of that appeal as well. Obviously, there are people who are just interested no matter what in what he does next.
Yeah, but he has it just at a crazier scale. He has it in like a more traditional celebrity sense, in my opinion, than Casey does. Casey, I think, he is very well known as like the guy, right? He's the guy who made this format. He made YouTube. Again, I think he paved the path for YouTube to be an acceptable thing in entertainment as a career. Like, he just kind of was like, this is acceptable. For
he also, I think, planted the seed for people in all types of industries,
right,
to make that attempt to be the Casey Neistat of
yeah. Mm-hmm.
oh, I see he's doing that here. Let me do it in this industry. Let me do it in that industry.
But I think across the board, back to the beginning of this conversation with David, and David taking, just deciding he can't do the thing he was doing on YouTube anymore because of the restrictions on this year. I think there's this question around, and he's talked about on his podcast, Casey's talked about this before, every creator that we talk to talks about kind of the being in the rat race and on the hamster wheel of like titles and thumbnails and being relevant on YouTube and getting the viewership you need to get. It's challenging. And then additionally, you have the pressure of advertising where you have certain view guarantees and advertising metrics you have to hit. That's really challenging. And so getting to that point where you can launch a subsidiary business that can be supported by your content, but isn't so
totally
your income
reliant.
Isn't so reliant on making a YouTube video
on that next video
is the natural way that creator business is going to move, because it's unhealthy to do that, to rely your life's income on your ability to make a YouTube video that's you want to make, that your audience wants to see, and that the algorithm wants. All three of those things. In my opinion, that's like not a healthy thing to do.
And there's no guarantee that you can do it forever.
Yeah, especially
because times will change, the algorithms will change, new forces will come into play in your life, in the platform. Like there's just no guarantee that you can do that for 40 years.
And so that's when you start to realize, like, actually everyone's just in a race to get to the point where they can launch something else.
We didn't mention him, but Peter McKinnon's done a great job at this.
We have to mention Peter. He's done an amazing job. Peter McKinnon's a photographer. If you're not familiar with him, I'm sure we'll play some B-roll right now so you can see. Amazing photographer. Also one of the nicest guys I've ever met in YouTube.
Just a kind soul.
Yeah, just such good energy when you just talk to him. But he's launched backpacks, like photography backpacks. He launched a set of
filters,
ND filters for your camera that we received. Stuff that's really relevant to his audience, but it's like his brand now, like everything comes with his signature on it. And his brand now stands for like this premium photography,
premium filmmaking.
Yeah. So he did it. Like he got to a point where Peter McKinnon, like the Peter McKinnon series of lenses would mean something. So that's like getting to the point of David's Perfume. For every creator, that's really the goal.
Yeah.
Unless they're trying to become like an actor for the rest of their lives.
I also think personally, it fulfills that goal of succeeding in entrepreneurialism that I think a lot of creators set out for, or that I think we initially set out for. Mm-hmm. And I think just making videos for the YouTube algorithm, hitting those check marks, kind of being on that hamster wheel, feels more like freelance work.
Yeah.
Because you're only getting paid upon the completion of that video.
Yeah.
But when you create a product or a company, I think there's a lot of validation just in that you are now a more well-rounded, successful business person.
Yeah. So what all, yesterday I went on a walk with Zach Hanarvar, who's like an excellent mind in the creator space. And he said something to me around owning a business versus owning a job. And when you work in advertising as a creator, you own the job of making videos. You don't own a business. Owning a business means you can step away from it and it can still operate. Mm-hmm. And what David's doing with Dispo, with David's Perfume, these are businesses that he's a business owner in. He doesn't own the job of having to make the perfume. So he owns the business. That's the goal. Like if you just boil it down as a creator, like forever, I don't want to own the job of being a creator. I want to use it to create a business. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the important distinction as you get into the creator world, that you're like, okay, right now when I work with advertisers, I own this job. If I step away, I can't do the job, which means I can't make the money. So what I've built is ownership over a job. If you want that, great. But I think at scale, the goal of creators is to own businesses. And that's what we're seeing now. And I'm definitely buying some perfume from David because I think I'd like to smell good.
I think my next purchase is going to be Chamberlain coffee.
I have Chamberlain coffee, but
I'm
want
going
the
to go
rebrand.
for the round two.
The rebrand is so good.
Yeah.
We didn't even touch on that. Like Emma, rebrand is great. I always talk to these people into the camera as if I really think that they're sitting there and they're going to be like, Oh,
like
Samir, thank
literally
you.
like on this camera is David and on your camera is Emma.
Yeah. I'm like, listen, Emma, great rebrand. Bryce, try capital U.
But now it's Peter because I'm talking to you on this camera. Like they're all just cycling through behind the camera.
I hope that we can get those people on the podcast so I can actually like sit and talk. That would be great.
That would be great.
Anyhow. All right. So, we'd love to hear your comments, your questions around this stuff, around how we're thinking about this. And just, any other thoughts around what's happening in creator business? Are there any other creators that we didn't mention who have done a really good job of creating businesses?
Yeah. If you're still listening or watching, help us. What's our business in your mind? Give us some ideas. Obviously, we talk about it all the time, but I would love to hear from everyone watching.
Right. All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Colin and Samir podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave something in the comments, whether it's about the episode or just about Colin and I as people. All right. Peace.